What if I told you that the most successful people on earth have discovered a secret so powerful, yet so simple, that it sounds almost too good to be true? What if the answer to everything you've been chasing, wealth, love, success, peace, isn't found in doing more, but in doing less? The world has convinced you that victory comes from hustle, from grinding, from never giving up the fight. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Every master, every millionaire, every person living their dream life has discovered the same secret, and it happens in complete silence. Think about it. While everyone else is running around like headless chickens, complaining about how hard life is, the truly successful ones, they're sitting quietly. They're listening. They're accessing a power that the masses don't even know exists. And today, I'm going to share that exact same secret with you. But first, let me tell you about the greatest lie ever told. Society has programmed you to believe that if you're not constantly moving, constantly doing, constantly achieving, you're somehow failing. They've made you afraid of stillness. They've convinced you that quiet equals laziness, that rest equals weakness. This is by design, because when you're constantly busy, constantly distracted, constantly chasing the next thing, you never discover the incredible power that lives within you. You never access the voice that could change everything. You remain trapped in the hamster wheel of endless effort, with minimal results. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful moments in human history happened not in boardrooms or battlefields, but in complete silence? What if the greatest inventions, the most profound insights, the most life-changing realizations, all came from people who dared to be still? You've done enough chasing, enough writing, enough planning. The answers you desperately seek cannot be found in the noise of the world. They wait in the silence, where only the faithful dare to go. Don't move, don't write, just listen. Because here's what the top 1% know that you don't. The person who truly listens can never be defeated. There is a voice, quiet, constant, and true whispering from within you right now. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for your attention like your phone, like the endless distractions around you. It waits patiently for the moment when you finally put the pen down, take your hands off the wheel, and become still enough to hear it. This voice speaks your future. This voice already sees you victorious. It doesn't tell you to try. It tells you to know. It doesn't give you hope. It gives you certainty. It doesn't promise that things might work out. It shows you that they already have, in the realm where all things are first created before they appear in your physical world. Every time you sit in silence and listen to that inner assurance, saying you already have it, you move mountains. Every time you resist the urge to chase, and instead align inwardly, you rewrite the world without lifting a finger. But here's what will blow your mind. Most people spend their entire lives trying to move mountains with their bare hands, when they could be moving them with their consciousness. They exhaust themselves, pushing against circumstances, fighting against conditions, struggling against what is, never realizing that the real power lies in changing what is from within. You see, there are two worlds operating simultaneously. There's the outer world, the one you see with your eyes, the one that seems so solid and unchangeable. And then there's the inner world, the realm of consciousness, imagination, and infinite possibility. The outer world is just a shadow of the inner world. When you change something in the inner world, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match. This isn't wishful thinking or New Age nonsense. This is the fundamental principle behind every great achievement in human history. People will ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile, because you didn't do anything. You listened, and listening became your power. Here's a shocking truth that will disturb you. We're living in the noisiest era in human history. Not just external noise, though that's certainly overwhelming, but internal noise. The constant chatter in your mind. The endless stream of thoughts, worries, plans, and distractions. This noise is killing your dreams. Every successful person, every spiritual master, every individual who has transcended ordinary limitations has learned to quiet this noise. They've discovered that beneath the mental static lies a profound intelligence, a creative force that knows exactly how to bring about any desired outcome. But you can't access this intelligence while your mind is racing. You can't hear divine guidance while you're drowning in mental chatter. You can't receive inspiration while you're busy generating desperation. The solution? Strategic stillness. Imagination speaks, but not to the busy, not to the frantic, not to the doubting. It speaks to the one who closes their eyes and listens in faith. Not for proof, not for permission, but for the knowing that it is already done. Your imagination isn't just your ability to daydream or fantasize. It's literally the creative power of the universe expressing itself through you. When you imagine something, really imagine it, with feeling and conviction. You're not just entertaining yourself. You're actually creating in the invisible realm. Every single thing that exists in your physical world first existed in someone's imagination. The device you're using to read this, someone imagined it first. The building you're in, someone saw it in their mind before it was ever constructed. The life you're living right now, it first took shape in the realm of imagination, either yours or someone else's. When you listen, you win, because in the stillness you become the one who already has it. You hear yourself as wealthy. You hear yourself as loved. You hear yourself as healed, whole, successful. And what you hear inwardly and consistently must show itself outwardly. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't symbolic. This is the literal mechanism by which your outer world is created and maintained. Your imagination is the control room of your life experience. So today, let the world spin. Let others chase. You sit quietly, listen carefully, and possess completely. Here's something that will shock you. True creation begins in stillness, not in motion, not in force, not in striving, but in the silence between thoughts, in the sacred stillness of being. Think about the most creative moments of your life. Were you struggling and straining when the best ideas came? Or were you relaxed, maybe in the shower, or taking a walk, or just before falling asleep? The greatest insights always come when the mind is still. This world, as you know it, is merely a reflection, a mirror casting back the state of your inner world. Yet few ever stop long enough to see this truth. They rush, they plan, they push. But the secret, the true alchemy of life, is stillness. You are not here to force outcomes. You are here to realize them. And realization doesn't come by movement. It arrives in quiet. When the noise fades and the mind sinks back into its source, something miraculous happens. You begin to remember who you really are. Not the struggling, striving person you've been taught to identify with, but the powerful, creative being you actually are. You remember that you're not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are that creative force, expressing itself as you. You cannot hear the music of your destiny when your soul is filled with noise. You cannot feel the movement of spirit when your hands are too busy trying to control every detail. But when you become still, deeply, deliberately still, something miraculous begins to stir. You begin to remember. You remember that you were never meant to chase. You were meant to become. Here's what seems impossible, but is absolutely true. Stillness is not passivity. It's not weakness. It's not giving up or checking out. Stillness is power restrained, awareness uncluttered, presence untouched by the distractions of the world. It's in this stillness that imagination becomes clear, that the inner voice is heard, and that the invisible world begins to shape the visible. The moment you close your eyes and turn away from the five senses, you return to the secret place, the origin of all that appears real. And there, in that silent inner world, you find that creation doesn't require effort, only awareness. The greatest leaders in history knew this secret. They understood that real power comes not from controlling everything externally, but from mastering the inner realm where all external things originate. Everything you desire, the love, the wealth, the healing, the success, it already exists. But it exists in the unseen. To touch it, to claim it, you must become still enough to see it in your mind and feel it in your soul. You cannot attract what you have not. First become in spirit. And becoming is not achieved through action, but through surrender. Surrender to the silence, to the knowing that what is truly yours is already yours. Most people are trying to attract their desires from a state of lack. They're trying to draw something to them that they don't feel they already have. But this very effort reinforces the experience of not having it. The real secret is becoming. When you become wealthy in consciousness, wealth flows to you effortlessly. When you become loved in your inner world, love surrounds you in your outer world. When you become successful in your imagination, success becomes your reality. Many fear stillness because it reveals what's really there. In movement, you can avoid yourself. In action, you can pretend. But in stillness, there's nowhere to run. You come face to face with your own beliefs, your assumptions, your fears. But don't be afraid. It's only in facing them that you can dissolve them. And once they're gone, you're left with truth. The truth that you are not separate from what you seek. You are it. Let me share something that will change everything for you. It's not what you write, nor what you say aloud, that holds the true power to change your life. It's what you hear, quietly, consistently, and inwardly. This is the great mystery most overlook. The inner ear is the true gateway to creation. What you listen to within yourself, you eventually embody, and what you embody, you express. The outer world is simply the echo of your inner hearing. Most people are destroying their dreams without even knowing it. They speak words of faith while inwardly rehearsing doubt. They write affirmations, but fall asleep to the inner dialogue of fear. They speak of success, but listen to the internal voice, telling them they're not enough. This contradiction is why so many remain stuck. The world responds not to what you say, but to what you inwardly accept as true. You become what you consistently hear in the silence of your being. When no one is watching, when the world is quiet, the voice within speaks. If you hear lack, if you hear rejection, if you hear fear, your life will shape itself accordingly. But if you hear abundance, if you hear worthiness, if you hear peace, then even without saying a word, your world will rise to meet that vibration. There's no deception in the inner ear. It reveals exactly where your faith lives. You may fool others with bold speech, but you cannot fool the law of consciousness. The voice you return to again and again, in the still moments of the day, that is the voice creating your tomorrow. You always have a choice. To tune in to the voice of limitation, or to the whisper of truth. This is why silence is sacred. It reveals what's truly at work within you. And once you're aware of what you're inwardly hearing, you have the power to change it. Not through force, but through gentle repetition. Through choosing again and again to listen to the voice that tells you all things are possible. You are worthy. You are already it. Your inner hearing is your true teacher. It guides you, corrects you, inspires you. It's not the loud voice of the world, but the quiet, unwavering tone of knowing. You cannot hear it when your mind is busy. You cannot access it when you're rushing. But when you sit in stillness and close the outer ear, the inner ear opens wide. And what you hear there, in that secret chamber of the soul, is what you will live. All transformation begins with a shift in what you inwardly listen to. If you wish to change your life, change what you hear. Stop giving energy to voices of criticism, of defeat, of fear. These are old recordings, and they are not you. Instead, tune in to the voice that already sees you as whole, successful, and free. It's there. It has always been there, waiting. Even now, in this moment, it speaks softly, calmly, confidently. You are more than enough. You are already chosen. Nothing is missing. Can you hear it? Can you quiet the noise long enough to truly listen? Here's the paradigm shift that separates winners from everyone else. Effort is the enemy of faith. The more you strive, the more you affirm that what you desire is not yet yours. And so the chase continues, and fulfillment slips further from reach. But there's another way, a higher way, where you stop trying and start trusting. You don't push, you allow. You don't chase, you choose. You don't beg, you become. Faith doesn't require effort. It requires surrender. To trust is to know, not to hope with doubt behind your eyes, but to rest in the assurance that what you have imagined is already established in the unseen. This world is not changed by your force. It's changed by your assumption. When you stop trying to make something happen, and instead assume the state of the one for whom it has already happened, reality bends to reflect that change. Trying keeps you in the state of wanting. Trusting places you in the state of having. And what you have in consciousness will soon become visible in form. There's no need to strain. The universe doesn't respond to how hard you work. It responds to how deeply you believe. All creation begins with inner conviction, not outer effort. This is the invitation. Step out of the chase. Step into the knowing. You don't need to keep proving yourself. You don't need to keep asking. You only need to receive. And receiving requires stillness. It requires listening. It requires alignment with what already exists within you. Because all things truly are within. They're not outside waiting to be won. They're inside waiting to be accepted. To stop trying doesn't mean to do nothing. It means to stop the inner struggle. It means to lay down the weapons of fear and control, and to walk boldly into the identity that matches your desire. The moment you say within yourself, I am already this, the world begins to move in harmony with your new belief. But as long as you continue to chase the thing, you declare its absence. And what you declare, you create. Let go of the need to force. Drop the habit of questioning how and when. These are the burdens of the doubter. You are not here to carry them. You are here to dwell in the state of already being. You are here to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to rest in that feeling as if it were the only truth. Trust is not blind. It sees clearly. It sees through appearances and holds fast to the unseen reality. Trust knows that the seed already planted will bloom, even before a single leaf appears. Trust doesn't dig up the soil every day to check. It waters, it waits, it believes. When you stop trying, the noise quiets, the resistance melts, and something far greater begins to work through you. You're no longer the one making it happen. You become the one for whom it is happening. This is the shift. This is the key. So don't move. Don't strive. Don't exhaust yourself in pursuit. Close your eyes. Go within. Feel the joy of already being it. Let that be your only effort. The gentle effort of inner alignment. Because the truth is simple. You don't get what you chase. You get what you are. And to become it, you must trust it. Trust the process. Trust the voice within. Trust the power that has never failed and never will. Stop trying. Start trusting. And watch the world give you what was already yours. Every word you hear within yourself is a seed. It may seem small, silent, and invisible, but it carries within it the full potential of a new world. When you listen in silence, when you allow yourself to hear without resistance, you're not merely daydreaming or escaping. You are planting. You are sowing thoughts into the deep, unseen soil of consciousness. And that soil is always fertile. It doesn't question. It doesn't resist. It simply receives and brings forth after its kind. There's no wasted word in the inner world. Every phrase, every idea, every whispered belief that you accept and repeat within yourself takes root. Some grow quickly. Some lie dormant until watered with repetition. But they all grow. Not by your labor, not by your striving, but by your faith in their reality. You see, consciousness is not passive. It's alive. It's the creative force that shapes your outer world from your inner assumptions. The moment you allow a new idea to settle within, truly settle, without doubt or contradiction, you have activated a seed. And like all seeds, it doesn't need you to constantly check on it. It needs you to trust. This is why silence is powerful. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. It's in silence that you finally stop scattering your energy. You stop pushing, reacting, and resisting. You become still, and in that stillness, your true desires rise to the surface. And when you hear them clearly, inwardly, without noise, you begin to plant with intention. It's not the loud outer voice that creates. It's the still inner one, that voice that says, I am well, I am whole, I am already what I desire to be. These are not just affirmations, they are seeds. And when repeated in the quiet chambers of the soul, they begin to reshape everything around you. But you must be mindful of what you're planting. The inner world doesn't distinguish between good or bad, wanted or unwanted. It simply accepts what you repeatedly say and feel. If you say, "Nothing ever works for me," that too is a seed, and it will grow. If you say, "I'm always lucky," that also is a seed, and it too will bear fruit. The soil of consciousness is not partial. It yields to the sower. So listen carefully, speak carefully, think carefully, because each word is a creative act. Each inner statement is a blueprint, and over time, what you have planted will rise, not suddenly, not all at once, but surely. That's the nature of the seed. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to force it. Whisper it in faith. Let it settle. Let it take root. Then live your life in quiet expectancy, knowing the harvest will arrive. This is the secret of all transformation. It begins not with action, but with attention. Attention to what you're saying within yourself. When you sit in silence and hear the truth of who you are, not the noise of the world, but the truth, you're doing more than imagining. You're creating. You're directing the future by what you believe in the present. And belief is not shown by outer declarations. It's revealed by the still, persistent inner voice. So guard your inner speech. Nourish it. Let your words within be soft, sure, and aligned with the life you wish to live. Because whether you recognize it or not, you're always planting. Every word is a seed. Every silence is an opportunity. And the more you listen in faith, the more your life becomes a garden of everything you once only imagined. Your imagination is always speaking. It whispers softly beneath the noise of daily life, beneath the obligations, the fears, the questions, the constant need to make things happen. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It speaks in images, in feelings, in subtle nudges that pull you toward your deepest truth. But the question isn't whether it speaks. The question is, are you listening? You were never meant to control the how. That burden was never yours. Life doesn't respond to control. It responds to alignment. And alignment begins with surrender. Your task is not to orchestrate every step or figure out every detail. Your task is to listen, to feel, to trust what rises within, not from logic, but from that deeper place where the true self lives, the place where all creation begins. Close your eyes and tune in, not to the outer world, where noise rules and opinions shift like wind. Tune in to the inner world, where your imagination has already painted the life you long for. That vision, the one that seems too big, too bold, too far away, is not fantasy. It's guidance. It's instruction from a higher realm of yourself. It doesn't tease you. It reveals you. It shows you who you really are and what already belongs to you. But to hear it, you must be still. You must let go of the anxious need to make something happen. You must quiet the voice that says, "I must do more, try harder, figure it all out." That voice is not the truth. That voice is fear. And fear cannot guide you into the life you were born to live. Only imagination can do that. Only the inner voice, the one that speaks in knowing, not panic, can lead you into your real destiny. Imagination doesn't speak in chaos. It speaks in clarity. When you feel peace, when you feel certainty rising from within you, that is the sign. That is the inner language that says, "This is yours. Walk in it." You don't have to earn it. You only have to allow it. The victory is not something you must achieve. It's something you must recognize. Your imagined victory is the seed of a future already planted. The moment you see it in your mind, you have touched the eternal. You have glimpsed the unseen reality that wants to unfold through you. But instead of chasing it, you must embody it. You must feel it now, as if it were already done. That is how you listen. That is how you receive. The imagination is your inner compass. It's always pointing to the truth of what's possible, not according to the world's standards or limitations, but according to your own divine design. Every time you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you're not escaping life. You're commanding it. You're instructing the unseen to arrange itself around your new assumption. This is not wishful thinking. This is the deepest form of listening. It's the art of hearing what the world cannot yet see and responding to it with trust. You don't need proof. You only need presence. Presence in the state. Presence in the vision. Presence in the knowing that what is seen in imagination is more real than what is seen in form. So stop fighting. Stop planning every move. Stop questioning the timing. Sit quietly. Feel the outcome. Hear it in your spirit. The voice of your imagination is your victory speaking. Let it rise. Let it live through you. Because the more you listen, the more you align. And when you align, there's nothing to chase. Only everything to receive. You win, not by force, not by effort, not by striving, but by becoming. And the becoming happens first in silence. It begins within, where no one sees, where no applause echoes, and no opinions can sway. In that stillness, you're not trying to get something. You're remembering who you are. You're aligning with the identity that already possesses the thing you seek. Manifestation is not the result of activity. It's the result of identity. You don't receive what you want. You receive who you are. And who you are is determined by what you accept as true in the quiet of your own mind. The inner conversation, the inner assumption, the inner feeling, that is the birthplace of all outward change. To become is to win. Not outwardly, not for show, but inwardly, where it matters most. That's where the seed is planted. That's where the world begins to reshape itself around you. When you sit in silence and accept the truth of your desired state, you begin to live from it. And once you live from it, the world cannot help but reflect it. Presence in the state. Presence in the vision. Presence in the knowing that what is seen in imagination is more real than what is seen in form. So stop fighting. Stop planning every move. Stop questioning the timing. Sit quietly. Feel the outcome. Hear it in your spirit. The voice of your imagination is your victory speaking. Let it rise. Let it live through you. Because the more you listen, the more you align. And when you align, there's nothing to chase. Only everything to receive. Silence is sacred. Because in silence, the noise of limitation dies. The stories you've repeated to yourself, of lack, of doubt, of fear, begin to dissolve. And in their place, you hear something deeper. You hear the voice of truth, the still and powerful knowing that you already are what you desire to be. Not someday, not maybe, now. You don't need to speak it out loud. You don't need to convince anyone. You only need to feel it as real. That feeling repeated becomes a state, and that state becomes your identity. Once it becomes your identity, the external world bends to meet it. It must, because the world is not separate from you. It's a mirror, a divine echo of your innermost assumptions. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the inner man, and the inner man is shaped by what he listens to in silence. So the question is not, what should I do? The question is, who am I becoming within? Are you still holding on to the identity of the one who lacks, who doubts, who hopes but does not know? Or have you dared to assume a higher self, one who is already chosen, already favored, already victorious? This is not about pretending. It's about embodying, and embodiment begins before movement. It begins in that sacred space where you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of already being, already having, already living from the place you once only dreamed of. The mind doesn't argue with identity. It simply follows it. If you believe you are, then you are. If you persist in that belief, quietly, faithfully, without rushing, then the world will match your self-concept. The doors will open. The people will show up. The path will reveal itself. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. Silence is not empty. It's full of power. In silence, you're not doing less. You're doing what matters most. You're planting the image. You're claiming the identity. You're choosing to be before anything appears. That is the secret. That is the key. So stop striving. Stop waiting for the outside to change before you allow yourself to believe. Change first in your imagination, in your assumption, in your quiet personal truth. The rest is inevitable. You win by becoming it first in silence, and then watching as the world rushes to agree. So now you understand. You were never meant to force, chase, or plead. Your real power has always lived in your stillness. It's in the quiet where identity is shaped, where imagination speaks, and where your entire world begins to take form. You win not by pushing, but by surrendering to the truth already within you. You don't move, don't write, don't beg, you listen, you become, and you receive. Let the world shout, let the mind race, but you remain still, because you now know the secret. Manifestation isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more, inwardly aligned with the self that already has it. Every vision, every desire, every whispered dream, it's already yours. Your only task is to believe it deeply enough that the world has no choice but to mirror it back to you. The life you're seeking is seeking you. Meet it in the silence. Thank you for listening, not just to these words, but to the deeper voice within you. May you walk forward not with striving, but with stillness. Not with fear, but with faith. You already are everything you seek. Let that truth guide you, silently, confidently, into the life that is waiting for you. The secret is stillness. The power is within. The time is now. Stop chasing. Start being. Your victory awaits in the silence.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to share with you the single most powerful money secret I have ever discovered. A trick so simple that most people overlook it entirely, yet so profound that it can transform your entire relationship with abundance. You look at money and think it is something outside of you. Distant, difficult, almost unattainable. This is how you were taught to see it, as if it were a whimsical entity that chooses to appear for some and abandon others. But I tell you, with the conviction of one who knows the law, this is an illusion. And as long as you treat money as a stranger, it will remain an outsider in your life. Tonight I am going to teach you to do something that will seem strange at first, perhaps even foolish. I am going to teach you to treat money like a person, a living, responsive presence that hears you, responds to you, and moves toward you or away from you based on how you speak to it and about it. This is not metaphor. This is not whimsy. This is the practical application of a profound spiritual law. What you treat as alive gains life within you, and what you welcome as close draws near. Let me begin by sharing a story that will illustrate exactly what I mean. Just last month, a gentleman came to my lecture who had been struggling financially for years. He was a hard-working man, intelligent and capable, yet money seemed to slip through his fingers no matter what he did. As we spoke after the lecture, I noticed something remarkable about the way he talked about money. He spoke of it with contempt, with resentment, with suspicion. Money is the root of all evil, he said. Rich people are greedy. Money corrupts everything it touches. I hate dealing with money. It's such a burden. I stopped him and said, "My friend, imagine if there were a person standing beside you right now, listening to every word you just spoke. Imagine this person has the power to help you, to flow into your life abundantly, to solve your problems. But they have just heard you say that they are evil, that they corrupt everything, that you hate dealing with them. How long do you think this person would stay in your presence?" He looked at me, stunned. "Not long, I suppose." "Exactly," I replied. "And this is precisely what you do with money every day. You speak of it as though it were an enemy, a burden, a corrupting force. And then you wonder why it stays away from you. I taught this man to completely transform his relationship with money by treating it as he would a valued friend. Every morning he would sit quietly and speak to money as though it were a person sitting across from him. He would say, "Good morning. Thank you for being in my life. I appreciate you. I honor you. I know you are always flowing to me." At first he felt foolish doing this, but I explained that his subconscious mind does not distinguish between a person and a concept. It only responds to the feeling and attitude he holds. By treating money as a living presence worthy of respect and gratitude, he was programming his subconscious to attract rather than repel abundance. Within 3 months, his financial situation had completely transformed. Unexpected opportunities appeared. Money came to him from sources he never anticipated. His business suddenly flourished. He had not changed his actions, he had changed his relationship. his conversation, his attitude toward money itself. You see, everything you call reality is merely a reflection of the state you silently maintain within yourself. If money seems absent, it is because deep down you have driven it away through the tone of your internal conversation. If it seems scarce, it is because in your heart you have seen it as distant, as separate, as something that belongs to others but not to you. The mistake that ordinary people make is to supplicate, to complain, to beg, as if money were a cruel master distributing favors according to some mysterious criteria. But I tell you, money is a servant, not a master. It responds to the inner voice with the same precision that an echo responds to a mountain. What you affirm in silence, it returns in form. Think about how you actually speak about money throughout your day. Do you say, "I can't afford that"? That is speaking to money as though it were absent. Do you say, "Money is so hard to come by"? That is telling money to stay away. Do you look at wealthy people with resentment and think, "They have it all while I have nothing"? That is creating a wall of separation between yourself and abundance. The visible world has no power to decide how much you will have. It merely bows to what has already been decreed in the invisible realm of your consciousness. If you speak with despair, money hears you and moves away. If you speak with gratitude and certainty, it inclines toward you and stays. Let me be absolutely clear about this. It is not your bank balance that dictates the tone of your conversation. It is your internal state that decides what will be reflected in your bank balance. Just as the sun does not need the clouds' approval to shine, your consciousness does not need external permission to decree abundance. When you begin to understand that money is not just a distant abstraction but a reality that molds itself to the state you maintain, the first practical step is to learn to speak to it as if it were already present. Think about this carefully. When you talk to a person, you do not doubt whether they are there or not. You do not close your eyes and wonder if you will be heard. You simply speak, and there is a natural certainty that someone on the other side is receiving your words. It is precisely this state of normalcy, of quiet conviction, that you must bring to your relationship with money. The mistake many make is to talk about money like someone pleading or someone fearful. They ask like supplicants. They murmur like those afraid to lose. And thus they establish a dialogue of absence rather than presence. But when you speak to money as if it were already sitting beside you, as if it were already flowing abundantly in your life, you activate within yourself the only language the universe understands, the language of assumption. For it is not the quantity of words nor the intensity of the voice that moves reality. It is the quality of the assumed state. Imagine thanking money as you would thank a friend who has just extended a hand to help you. You do not look at a friend fearing they will disappear the next moment. You trust their presence. You honor them. You acknowledge the gesture and respond with gratitude. So too with money. When you address it this way, not as a beggar, but as a host receiving an expected guest, your mind stops vibrating at the frequency of lack and begins to emit the only vibration that creates, the vibration of already having. Let me give you a practical example. A woman came to me who was drowning in debt. Every time she looked at her bills, she would say, "I hate this, I can't deal with this, money is such a problem in my life." I taught her to completely change this conversation. Instead of cursing her bills, I taught her to thank them. "Thank you, money, for flowing through my life. I appreciate you for allowing me to exchange you for services I have received. I know more of you is always coming to me." At first she thought I was asking her to lie to herself, but I explained that she was not lying. She was choosing which reality to align with. There is a dimension of consciousness where money is already flowing abundantly to her. By speaking from that dimension, she was claiming it as her reality. Within weeks, her entire experience with money began to shift. The anxiety dissolved. Solutions appeared. Money came to her in unexpected ways. She had learned to speak money's language, the language of welcome, appreciation, and assured expectation. The second great truth you must understand is this. There is no separation between you and money, none whatsoever. The ordinary person looks at their bank account, sees low numbers, and says, "I don't have money." But that is the great lie that sustains scarcity. When you declare you do not have, you establish an invisible wall between yourself and what you desire. And since everything in the world is merely a reflection of consciousness, this wall becomes real, blocking manifestation. Money is not outside waiting for permission to come to you. It already exists, and its presence is attracted or repelled by the state you assume. Think of a child who hears their parents call. The child does not question whether to answer or not. They recognize the voice and respond immediately. So too with money. It does not come because the external world brought it to you. It comes because your consciousness called it. It is necessary to abandon the idea that prosperity is a distant privilege or a stroke of luck reserved for a chosen few. Prosperity is an inevitable reflection of those who understand their unity with it. If you see money as separate, distant, unattainable, you will always live trying to conquer what can never unite with you. But if you dare to see yourself as already united with money, as someone who carries that reality within your own being, the reflection will have no choice but to bow to the state you have assumed. I remember a young man who came to me with this exact problem. He would see wealthy people and think, they have what I lack, they are over there with abundance, and I am over here with scarcity. This thought created an impenetrable barrier between himself and prosperity. I taught him to change his perception entirely. When you see someone with money, I said, do not see it as proof that you lack. See it as proof that money exists, that it flows, that it is available. See it as a reminder that the same source that created their abundance is within you. They are not separate from you. They are you, expressing in a different form. He practiced seeing all money, whether in his own hands or in the hands of others, as confirmation of his own unity with abundance. Within months, his income had tripled. He had dissolved the wall of separation by recognizing that money was not out there, but was an expression of the consciousness he carried within. Look at the world with different eyes. Every coin that circulates, every transaction, every visible abundance is not a sign that you lack something. It is a reminder that the same source that moves them resides within you. When you feel separated, the sight of another's wealth awakens envy and resentment. But when you recognize unity, the abundance of others becomes a confirmation of your own. The third step in treating money like a person is understanding that words alone are not enough. You must feel. Words without feeling are empty, like a body without a soul. You can repeat 1,000 times that you are prosperous, but if within you carries the weight of lack, the world will respond to what truly vibrates in your consciousness, not to your empty words. The key is to wear the feeling of abundance like someone putting on an invisible garment that shapes their posture, their breathing, their gaze. Close your eyes right now and allow yourself to experience this. Imagine holding paper currency in your hands. Feel the texture, smell the distinct scent, sense the weight. Mentally hear the sound of coins dropping into your palm, of a merchant thanking you for your purchase. See your bank statement overflowing with abundance. Feel the peace of paying everything with plenty left over. Notice the lightness in your body, the body of one who does not fear tomorrow, who does not worry about survival, who rests in the certainty of abundant supply. These are not useless fantasies. They are seeds sown in the fertile ground of imagination, and everything conceived there, enveloped in true emotion, must be born into the visible world. Do not underestimate the power of feeling. Imagination is the womb of all creation, and what is generated there wrapped in genuine emotion cannot be prevented from manifesting by any external circumstance. I knew a businessman who practiced this technique with remarkable discipline. Every evening before sleep, he would spend 10 minutes feeling what it was like to be abundantly wealthy. He would feel the security, the freedom, the generosity that abundance allowed. He would experience the joy of giving, the peace of having more than enough, the confidence of knowing his family was provided for. He did not just think about these things, he felt them in his body. His breathing would deepen, his shoulders would relax, a smile would cross his face. He was not pretending to feel abundant, he was actually generating the feeling of abundance through the power of imagination. Within a year, his business had grown beyond his wildest expectations. Money flowed to him from multiple sources. Opportunities appeared that he could never have consciously planned. His subconscious mind, impressed with the feeling of abundance, had reorganized his entire world to match that feeling. Look within yourself right now and notice the contrast. When you think of financial struggle, your body contracts, Your breath becomes shallow. Your heart races with anxiety. This is the feeling of lack, and it creates more lack. But when you wear the feeling of abundance, there is an openness, an expansion, a peaceful confidence that no external circumstance can steal. This state is the invisible proof that the work has been done in consciousness. The mistake of many is to wait to feel abundant only after money appears. But that is the greatest deception. The world does not bring abundance so that you may feel prosperous. You feel prosperous first, and then the world is compelled to bow to that state. This is the inverted order that keeps people trapped in cycles of struggle. They say, I'll be grateful when the money comes. But the law says, be grateful now and the money must come. The fourth principle in treating money like a person is this: you cannot attract what you despise. Many say they want to prosper, but within themselves they carry resentment and distrust toward money. They criticize those who have it. They judge the wealthy as though they were corrupt. They treat abundance as something dirty or shameful, and yet they expect money to flow into their lives. I tell you that is impossible. What you reject, what you curse in thought, can never remain by your side. Money, like any living presence you welcome, needs to be treated with respect, not as a lord to be worshipped, but as an honored guest to be received. If someone were received in your home with disdain, mockery, and distrust, how long would they stay? So it is with money. If you treat it as a burden, as an enemy, as a necessary evil, it will have no reason to remain. But if you honor it, if you recognize in it the possibility of expressing gratitude, generosity, and fulfillment, it will stay and multiply. You can see this pattern in your own life. How many times have you looked at a bill with anger and muttered curses? How many times have you spent money with guilt, as if the act of using it was shameful? This pattern is a subtle rejection, an invisible message you send saying, I do not want you in my life. And the law, which never fails, responds by moving money further away. A woman came to me who had this exact pattern. She would receive money and immediately feel guilty about having it. She would spend it quickly, almost unconsciously, as though she did not deserve to keep it. She criticized wealthy people, calling them selfish and greedy. She saw money as the root of all problems. I said to her, you are treating money like an enemy, and then wondering why it will not stay with you. Imagine if you treated a person this way, receiving them with suspicion, getting rid of them as quickly as possible, speaking ill of anyone who kept their company. Would that person remain your friend? She understood immediately. I taught her to change her entire attitude toward money. Instead of complaining when bills arrived, she began thanking money for flowing through her life. Instead of criticizing the wealthy, she began celebrating their abundance as proof of what was possible. Instead of spending with guilt, she began using money with gratitude and purpose. The transformation was remarkable. Money began to stay with her. Opportunities to earn more appeared. Her relationship with abundance shifted from one of hostility to one of partnership. Change begins when you decide to re-educate your inner attitude. Instead of complaining, give thanks. Instead of envying, celebrate. Instead of suspecting, trust. Money is neither a curse nor a blessing in itself. It is merely an expression of the state you assume. If you receive it with disdain, it becomes scarce. If you receive it with honor, it multiplies. But do not confuse respect with worship. Worshipping money is to make yourself its slave, to think that your life will only have value if the numbers are large. Respecting money is to treat it as an ally, as a presence that serves your higher purpose, as an instrument that responds to the call of consciousness. That is the difference between living in anxiety and living in peace. Now, the fifth and final principle is this: you must live as one who already has, not as one who is waiting to receive. Most people live waiting for circumstances to change first, and then they will change their attitude. They say, when I have money, I will be generous. When I am prosperous, I will live in peace. When my bank account is full, then I will feel abundant. But that is the greatest deception. The world does not bring abundance so that you may feel prosperous. You feel prosperous first, and then the world is compelled to bow to that state. He who waits never harvests, because waiting is an eternal postponement. Tomorrow becomes an excuse not to assume today the posture of what already is. And as long as you live as if you are still lacking, reality has no choice but to show you more of what you maintain. The law is clear. The reflection can only reproduce the image before the mirror. If you see yourself as lacking, the world will show you lack. If you see yourself as abundant, abundance must become visible. Living as one who already has does not mean going out and spending recklessly. It means walking with the confidence of one who knows there is no lack. It is making decisions without the burden of fear. It is holding your head high in situations that would previously make you shrink. It is speaking as one who has already been provided for, even if there is no visible sign yet. This inner posture is the key that opens all doors. I remember a young man who understood this principle perfectly. He had very little money, but he refused to live in the consciousness of poverty. He walked with confidence, he spoke with certainty. He made decisions from abundance rather than lack. When friends would complain about money, he would respond with gratitude for all he had. When opportunities arose, he would act without hesitation, knowing he was provided for. People were drawn to his energy. Opportunities appeared. Money came to him in unexpected ways. Within 2 years, he had built a thriving business. He had not waited for abundance to appear before living abundantly. He had lived abundantly first, and the external world had conformed to his internal state. Look at anyone who has achieved great prosperity. Before they were rich in the world, they were rich in their internal state. They already saw themselves as worthy. They already spoke as masters of themselves. They already walked with the certainty that they possessed. Money merely bowed to that vision. That is why even in the midst of crisis, some prosper while others perish. It is not external events that decide outcomes. It is the internal state that each person maintains. If you desire abundance, start now to live as one who already has. Do not wait for your bank account to change to feel free. Feel free, and the account will have to change. Do not wait for a raise to feel valued. Feel valued, and the raise will come. Do not wait for external signs to believe it is possible. Believe, and the signs will come as a consequence. Courage lies in acting as a creator, not as a beggar. The beggar asks and waits. The creator commands and assumes. As long as you live begging for changes, you will remain a slave to appearances. But the moment you assume the position of owner, of master, of someone who already has, all creation will respond in obedience. Now that the truth has been placed before you, there are no more excuses. You know that money is not a distant enemy, nor a judge who decides whether or not to bless your life. It is merely a reflection of the state you silently maintain. If until today you have lived begging, waiting for something external to change, so that you might finally feel prosperous, the time has come to reverse that order. For nothing from outside has the power to create. The power has always been in you and has always been within. Treat money as a living person. Speak to it as you would an intimate friend. Say, "Thank you for being here. I know you always arrive at the right time. I feel your constant presence in my life." Do this not as mechanical repetition, but as the expression of a growing conviction. Abandon the illusion of separation. Recognize that there is no distance between you and money. It is part of your life, like the air you breathe, like the sun that warms you. Wear the feeling of abundance. Let it shape your posture, your decisions, your entire way of being. Honor money with respect, not as something to worship, but as an ally in expressing your highest purpose. And walk as one who already possesses, not as one who waits. These are not empty pieces of advice. They are commandments of the law that governs all creation. The visible world is shadow, reflection, echo. The true reality is the one you assume within yourself, and it is the only one that never fails to project itself. Therefore, I tell you, stop begging, stop waiting, stop looking at appearances as if they were masters of your life. You are a creator, and the creator does not ask permission. Command in silence, sustain in certainty, vibrate in the assumed state, and the world, however resistant it may seem, will have no choice but to obey. Leave here today with a new attitude. not as someone who seeks, but as someone who already possesses, not as a servant, but as a master, not as one lacking, but as an heir of infinite abundance. For everything already is, and everything is already within you. Money will not come because you beg. It will come because you dare to assume the place from which you should never have departed, the place of one who creates through imagination and sustains through faith. And when this becomes your truth, you will see that abundance was never absent. It was merely awaiting your acknowledgement, your welcome, your conversation. Speak to money like a person. Treat it as a friend, and watch as it responds to your call. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.
Tesla died clutching a theory that could have changed everything. In his final papers, he wrote about a discovery so profound that the government classified it for decades. He claimed he'd found the fundamental frequency of reality itself, the hidden signal that controls everything from human consciousness to the movement of galaxies. What if he was right? What if there's an invisible layer of reality operating beneath everything you can see, touch, or measure? And what if learning to tune into it could completely transform your life? Right now, something extraordinary is happening. Your heart is beating at 60 to 100 beats per minute. Your brain is firing electrical signals at specific frequencies. Even your DNA is vibrating at measurable rates. You are literally a walking symphony of frequencies, broadcasting a unique signature into the universe every single second. But here's what nobody tells you. You've never learned to hear your own song. I'm about to tell you something that will change how you see everything. Every emotion you've ever felt, every thought you've ever had, every person you've ever been attracted to or repelled by, none of it was random. It was all frequency matching. When you walk into a room and instantly feel uncomfortable, you're not imagining it. You're picking up discordant frequencies. When you meet someone for the first time and feel like you've known them forever, you're experiencing harmonic resonance. When you think about calling someone and they call you first, you're both tuned to the same energetic channel. Most people call this coincidence. Scientists are starting to call it quantum entanglement. I call it the most powerful force in your life that you've never been taught to use. Here's the mind-bending part. Reality isn't made of things, it's made of patterns, invisible rhythms, frequencies so subtle that 99% of people live their entire lives without ever noticing them. But the 1% who do, they seem to live in a completely different world. They attract opportunities effortlessly. Synchronicities happen to them constantly. They make decisions with uncanny accuracy. People are drawn to them. Money flows to them. Love finds them. It's like they have access to some secret information that everyone else is missing. They do, and you're about to discover what it is. Let me blow your mind with what quantum physicists have discovered. At the smallest levels of reality, smaller than atoms, smaller than electrons, nothing exists as solid matter. Instead, everything exists as waves of probability, vibrating possibilities waiting to become real. But here's the kicker. These particles don't behave predictably until they're observed. The observer literally changes the outcome. What we focus on, we influence. Our consciousness isn't just watching reality, it's actively creating it. This isn't metaphysical speculation. This is Nobel Prize-winning science. The observer effect is one of the most replicated phenomena in physics. Your attention acts like a cosmic remote control, selecting which channel of reality you experience. Think about that for a moment. If reality is made of frequencies, and consciousness can influence which frequencies become real, then you're not a victim of circumstances. You're a co-creator of your experience. But most people are creating unconsciously. They're broadcasting static instead of signal. They're tuned into frequencies of lack, fear, and limitation without even realizing it. And then they wonder why their lives feel stuck on repeat. Your thoughts aren't just private experiences happening inside your head. They're frequencies with measurable electromagnetic signatures. Scientists can now detect and even decode thoughts using brain scanning technology. Every thought you think is literally broadcasting a signal into the quantum field. Your emotions aren't just chemical reactions in your body. They're complex frequency patterns that extend far beyond your physical boundaries. This is why you can feel someone's mood from across a room. This is why crowds have energy. This is why some places feel sacred while others feel heavy. You are not separate from the world around you. You are embedded in a vast web of interconnected frequencies, constantly transmitting and receiving information at levels far below conscious awareness. Right now, you have a frequency signature as unique as your fingerprint. It's composed of your dominant thoughts, your emotional patterns, your beliefs about yourself and the world, your physical health, even your spiritual state. This signature is constantly broadcasting into the field around you. And here's the profound part. The universe responds to your frequency like a massive echo chamber. Whatever you broadcast, you attract back in the form of experiences, people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your signal. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract success, while others struggle despite working twice as hard. It's not about effort. It's not about worthiness. It's not even about luck. It's about signal clarity. Let me give you some examples of how this works in real life. The frequency of fear. When you operate from fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, you broadcast a very specific signal. That signal attracts experiences that confirm your fears. You notice threats everywhere. Opportunities seem to disappear. People respond to your insecurity. You create the very reality you're afraid of, not because the universe is cruel, but because you're unconsciously requesting it through your frequency. The frequency of love. When you operate from genuine love, for yourself, for others, for life itself, you broadcast a completely different signal. People are drawn to you. Opportunities flow toward you. Problems resolve more easily. It's not magic. It's magnetism. Love is one of the highest frequencies in existence, and it naturally attracts more of itself. The frequency of gratitude. Gratitude is perhaps the most powerful frequency you can broadcast. When you're genuinely grateful, you're acknowledging abundance. You're saying yes to life. And life responds by giving you more to be grateful for. This isn't positive thinking. This is energetic alignment. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to change their external circumstances without first changing their internal frequency. They want a different life while broadcasting the same old signal. It's like trying to tune into a rock station while your radio is set to classical music. The station you want is broadcasting, but you're not aligned to receive it. So why don't we naturally know this? Why aren't we taught to work with frequency from childhood? Because we live in a world obsessed with the visible, the measurable, the real. We're conditioned to trust only what we can see, prove, or hold in our hands. We value solidity, structure, things that can be named and labeled. But frequency doesn't belong to that world. It can't be boxed or frozen. It lives in the invisible realm. This creates what I call the myth of solidity, the belief that reality is fixed, hard, and external to us. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Reality is soft, responsive, and deeply influenced by our internal state. From the moment we're born, we inherit frequencies from our environment. Our families have emotional patterns that we absorb. Our culture has belief systems that we download. Our education system teaches us to focus on problems rather than possibilities. Our media bombards us with frequencies of fear, scarcity, and separation. By the time we're adults, most of us are walking around with incredibly noisy signals. We're broadcasting a chaotic mix of inherited beliefs, unprocessed emotions, and unconscious patterns. No wonder life feels so random and difficult. Here's what's really happening. You have layers of frequency interference, preventing you from accessing your natural signal. It's like trying to tune into a clear radio station, while someone else is playing 5 different songs at the same time in the background. Emotional static, like unprocessed trauma, suppressed emotions, and chronic stress create interference in your signal. These lower frequencies literally jam your ability to access higher states of consciousness and attract positive experiences. Mental noise, like repetitive negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and mental habits, create loops in your frequency. You end up broadcasting the same signal over and over, which is why your life can feel stuck in patterns. Environmental interference, like the people you spend time with, the media you consume, the spaces you inhabit, all of these are constantly influencing your frequency. If you're surrounded by negativity, it becomes much harder to maintain a clear positive signal. Cultural programming. Society teaches us to focus on lack, to compete rather than collaborate, to fear rather than trust. These programmed responses create automatic frequency patterns that run in the background of our consciousness. The good news, once you understand how this works, you can start to clear the static and tune into your authentic frequency. Learning to work with frequency consciously is like developing a new sense. At first, it seems impossible. Then gradually, you start to notice subtle patterns you never saw before. Eventually, it becomes as natural as seeing or hearing. Here's how the awakening process typically unfolds. Stage 1. Recognition. You start to notice that your internal state directly affects your external experiences. When you're feeling good, good things happen. When you're stuck in negativity, life reflects that back to you. This isn't just positive thinking. You're beginning to see the actual correlation between your frequency and your reality. Stage 2. Experimentation. You begin deliberately shifting your internal state and watching how your external world responds. You practice gratitude and notice more things to be grateful for appearing in your life. You focus on love and find that relationships improve. You align with abundance and opportunities start flowing. Stage 3. Integration. Working with frequency becomes second nature. You develop an intuitive sense of what frequencies you're broadcasting and receiving. You can feel the energy of spaces, people, and situations before your mind analyzes them. You make decisions based on energetic alignment rather than just logical analysis. Stage 4. Mastery. You realize that you are both the instrument and the musician. You can consciously choose which frequency to broadcast in any situation. Your life becomes a deliberate creation rather than a random series of events. You understand that changing your frequency is the most powerful way to change your life. But let me be clear. This isn't about spiritual bypassing or pretending everything is perfect. Working with frequency requires radical honesty about what you're actually broadcasting. Sometimes that means facing uncomfortable truths about your patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. So how do you actually tune your frequency? How do you clear the static and access your authentic signal? Here are the most powerful tools I've discovered. Number 1. Conscious breathing. Your breath is directly connected to your frequency. Shallow, anxious breathing broadcasts stress and fear. Deep, rhythmic breathing creates coherence in your nervous system and elevates your frequency. Spend just 5 minutes breathing consciously, and you can completely shift your energetic state. Number 2. Meditation and stillness. The more noise in your system, the harder it is to perceive subtle frequencies. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind. It's about clearing the static so you can hear your natural signal. Even 10 minutes of stillness daily can dramatically improve your frequency awareness. Number 3. Emotional clearing. Suppressed emotions create interference patterns in your frequency. Learning to feel and release emotions as they arise keeps your signal clear. This doesn't mean being emotional all the time. It means being emotionally honest and fluid. Number 4. Frequency hygiene. Just like physical hygiene, you need frequency hygiene. This means being conscious about what you expose yourself to. The music you listen to, the news you consume, the conversations you engage in, the people you spend time with. All of these are either elevating or lowering your frequency. Number 5. Alignment practices. Regularly check in with yourself. Does this feel aligned? Trust your body's wisdom. Your physical sensations are often more accurate than your thoughts when it comes to frequency recognition. If something makes you feel contracted, heavy, or drained, it's probably not aligned with your highest frequency. Number 6. Nature connection. Nature operates at perfectly coherent frequencies. Spending time in natural environments automatically helps attune your system to more harmonious patterns. This is why being in nature feels so restorative. You're literally syncing up with coherent frequency patterns. Number 7. Creative expression. Creativity is one of the most direct ways to express your authentic frequency. Whether it's art, music, writing, or any form of creative expression, you're broadcasting your unique signal when you create. This is why creative pursuits feel so fulfilling. You're aligned with your natural frequency. Number 8. Service and contribution. When you focus on how you can serve or contribute to others, you naturally shift into higher frequencies. This isn't about self-sacrifice. It's about recognizing that we're all part of a larger frequency pattern, and when we support the whole, we elevate ourselves. Number 9. Gratitude practice. Gratitude might be the single most powerful frequency shifting tool available. When you're genuinely grateful, you're broadcasting abundance, appreciation, and love. The universe responds by giving you more experiences that match those frequencies. Number 10. Energy management. Learn to recognize what gives you energy and what drains it. High-frequency activities, people, and environments will energize you. Low-frequency experiences will deplete you. Manage your energy like the precious resource it is. Number 11. Intention setting. Your intentions act like tuning forks, helping you align with specific frequencies. But here's the key. Your intentions must be backed by genuine emotion and belief. Empty affirmations don't work because they lack energetic substance. When people hear the term higher frequency, they often imagine something superior or exclusive, something reserved for monks or mystics. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding. Higher frequency doesn't mean better in a moral sense. It means more coherent, more aligned, more in sync with the underlying patterns of life. It's like the difference between a beautiful symphony and random noise. Both are made of sound waves, but one has harmony and the other has chaos. Living at a higher frequency doesn't make you special. It makes you effective. It means you move through life with less resistance because you're no longer pushing against the current. You're moving with it. Here's what actually happens when you consistently operate at higher frequencies. Synchronicity becomes normal. When you're aligned with your authentic frequency, the universe seems to conspire to support you. You think of someone, and they call. You need information, and it appears. You follow hunches that lead exactly where you need to go. This isn't luck, it's alignment. You're tuned into the same frequency as the opportunities and connections that serve your highest good. Intuition sharpens dramatically. Your intuition isn't a mystical power. It's your natural ability to perceive frequency patterns that your conscious mind hasn't yet analyzed. When you're operating at higher frequencies, your intuitive abilities become incredibly accurate. You can sense truth, not just in facts, but in feeling. You know things before you know how you know them. Relationships transform. People respond to frequency before they respond to words. When you're broadcasting authenticity, love, and coherence, others naturally feel safe and drawn to you. Toxic relationships fall away because there's no frequency match. Healthy relationships deepen because you're able to connect at more profound levels. Creativity explodes. Creativity flows most freely when you're aligned with higher frequencies. Ideas come effortlessly. Solutions appear. You tap into a source of inspiration that feels infinite. This is because creativity is essentially frequency expression. You're translating your unique vibrational signature into form. Health improves. Your physical body is constantly responding to your frequency. Stress, fear, and negativity create disharmony in your system, leading to illness and disease. Love, joy, and peace create coherence, supporting natural healing and vitality. This isn't alternative medicine. This is how your nervous system, immune system, and endocrine system actually function. Abundance flows. Money is energy, and it flows toward coherent frequency patterns. When you're aligned with higher frequencies, you naturally attract resources, opportunities, and support. This isn't about greed or materialism. It's about being an open channel for the flow of universal abundance. purpose becomes clear. At higher frequencies, you can sense your unique role in the larger pattern of existence. Your purpose isn't something you have to figure out intellectually. It's something you feel into. You understand how your gifts and talents fit into the greater whole. Peace becomes your default state. Instead of peace being something you have to achieve, it becomes your natural state. Challenges still arise, but they don't disturb your fundamental equilibrium. You respond to life from a place of centeredness rather than reactivity. You become a healing presence. When you consistently operate at higher frequencies, you naturally become a source of coherence for others. People feel better around you. Conflicts resolve more easily when you're present. You become a tuning fork, helping others remember their own natural harmony. Now let's go deeper into the mysteries of frequency that most people never discover. Quantum physicists talk about something called the zero-point field, a realm of infinite potential that exists beneath physical reality. This field contains every possible version of your life, every potential outcome, every possible path. Your frequency determines which possibilities you can access and which ones remain invisible to you. When you raise your frequency, you literally gain access to higher possibilities that were always there but previously beyond your reach. It's like upgrading your consciousness to receive more channels of reality. But you're not just broadcasting your individual frequency. You're also participating in collective frequency fields. Your family has a collective frequency. Your community has one. Your nation, your species, even your planet operates at specific frequency ranges. These collective fields are incredibly powerful. They can either support your individual frequency or create interference. This is why it's so important to consciously choose the collective fields you participate in. The company you keep, literally and figuratively, determines which frequency ranges you have access to. And here's something that will stretch your understanding. Your frequency doesn't just attract experiences. It actually determines which timeline you experience. Every moment, infinite possible futures branch out from the present. Your frequency acts like a navigation system, guiding you toward the timeline that matches your energetic signature. When you make a significant frequency shift, you can literally shift timelines. Suddenly, possibilities that seemed impossible become inevitable. People from your past fall away while new people appear. Opportunities that were never available suddenly become obvious. You haven't just changed your perspective. You've changed your trajectory through the multiverse of possibilities. Also, when you're aligned with higher frequencies, your perception of time changes. Flow states, where time seems to stop or accelerate, are actually frequency alignment experiences. You're syncing up with the natural rhythm of creation itself. This is why some people accomplish incredible things, while others struggle to make progress. It's not about working harder. It's about aligning with the frequency of flow, where time becomes your ally, rather than your limitation. We're living through an unprecedented moment in human history. More people are becoming conscious of frequency and vibration than ever before. Ancient wisdom that was once hidden is becoming mainstream knowledge. Science is validating what mystics have known for millennia. This isn't happening by accident. We're experiencing a collective frequency shift that's awakening humanity to its true nature and potential. Old systems based on fear, control, and separation are breaking down because they're no longer sustainable at the frequencies we're evolving toward. This can look chaotic and frightening, but it's actually a necessary part of the awakening process. As more individuals raise their frequency, the collective frequency of humanity rises. This creates pressure on all the systems and structures that aren't aligned with higher consciousness. They must either evolve or dissolve. Many spiritual traditions speak of a new earth or a golden age. These aren't just metaphorical concepts. They're describing a collective frequency shift that transforms how we experience reality. When enough people operate at higher frequencies, we create new collective possibilities. Imagine a world where most people make decisions from love rather than fear, where cooperation replaces competition, where abundance is shared rather than hoarded, where creativity and consciousness are valued more than consumption and control. This isn't utopian fantasy. It's the natural result of collective frequency elevation. Every person who chooses to raise their frequency contributes to this collective shift. You're not just improving your own life. You're helping to birth a new paradigm of human consciousness. This is why your personal frequency work matters so much. You're not being selfish by focusing on your own spiritual development. You're being of service to the entire human family. Every time you choose love over fear, coherence over chaos, alignment over resistance, you're adding your frequency to the growing chorus of awakened consciousness. We've covered a lot of ground, but everything I've shared points to one simple truth. You are far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. You are not a victim of circumstances, genetics, or fate. You are a conscious creator, equipped with the ability to broadcast any frequency you choose. But with this power comes responsibility. Once you understand how frequency works, you can no longer pretend that your thoughts, emotions, and actions don't matter. You can no longer blame external circumstances for your internal state. You must take full ownership of the signal you're broadcasting. This can be overwhelming at first. It means that if your life isn't working, you have to look at what frequency you're holding. It means that changing your external world requires changing your internal world first. It means taking radical responsibility for your experience. But it also means incredible freedom. If you're creating your experience through frequency, then you can change your experience by changing your frequency. You're not stuck with the patterns you inherited. You're not limited by your past. You can tune into any frequency you choose, right now, in this moment. Start each day by consciously choosing your frequency. Before you check your phone, before you get caught up in the demands of the day, take a few moments to tune in. Ask yourself, what frequency do I want to broadcast today? How do I want to feel? What kind of energy do I want to contribute to the world? Then throughout the day, keep checking in. When you notice your frequency dropping, when you feel stressed, anxious, angry, or depleted, don't judge it. Simply recognize it and make a conscious choice to shift. Remember that your frequency doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone and everything around you. When you operate at higher frequencies, you give others permission to do the same. You become a catalyst for positive change in your family, your community, your world. Your coherent frequency helps heal the collective chaos. Your authentic expression helps others remember their own truth. Your commitment to growth helps accelerate the awakening of human consciousness. My dear friends, in this lecture, you'll discover the one secret that has the power to dissolve every problem you've ever faced. What if I revealed to you that you are not who you think you are, and that this misunderstanding is the root of all your suffering? Tonight I'm going to share with you the most profound truth I've ever discovered. A truth so powerful that once you grasp it, truly grasp it, worry becomes impossible. Fear dissolves like mist before the sun, and every challenge transforms into a doorway to your desires. But before I reveal this secret, let me ask you something that will shake you to your very core. Right now, as you listen to my voice, who do you believe yourself to be? Are you John, struggling with debt that keeps you awake at night? Are you Mary, anxious about whether your partner truly loves you? Are you someone carrying the crushing weight of past failures, drowning in future uncertainties, suffocated by present limitations? If you answered yes to any of these, then you are living in the grandest illusion ever conceived. You are not your name. You are not your circumstances. You are not your bank balance, your job title, your relationship status. You are not even your thoughts and emotions that seem to control your every waking moment. You are the infinite creative power of the universe, temporarily forgetting your true identity. And in this forgetting lies both your suffering and your salvation. When you worry, and I know you do worry, perhaps right now as you listen to these words, you are operating from what I call the finite sense of self. You're identifying with your physical body that ages and aches, your personal history filled with disappointments and regrets, your social circumstances that seem to define and confine you. You've forgotten the magnificent being that you truly are. But tonight, this changes. Tonight, You remember who you really are. Tonight you discover the secret that has been hidden in plain sight your entire life. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, for these words will either liberate you completely or challenge everything you believe about reality. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are God individualized, temporarily wearing the mask of humanity. You are the infinite creative consciousness, pretending to be limited so that you can experience the joy of remembering your unlimited nature. Here's something that will stop you in your tracks and force you to question everything. How can God worry? Think about it deeply. How can the infinite creative force that spoke galaxies into existence, that dreams up every sunset, and orchestrates every heartbeat, be concerned about paying rent? How can the consciousness that imagined every star, every ocean, every flower into being, be anxious about what others think of you? It's impossible, isn't it? Completely, utterly impossible. And yet, that's exactly what you are. That same creative power, that same infinite consciousness. The only difference is that you've been hypnotized into believing you're separate from it. You've been mesmerized by the grand illusion that you are small, limited, powerless. But what if I told you that this hypnosis is about to be broken forever? The world you see around you, every problem that torments you, every challenge that seems insurmountable, every limitation that appears to bind you, is not the cause of your experience. It's the effect. It's the outward projection of your inner states of consciousness, like shadows cast by the light of your own mind. This means something so extraordinary that most people cannot accept it when they first hear it. Every circumstance in your life is a reflection of your inner world. That financial struggle that keeps you awake at 3 a.m, it's reflecting a state of lack consciousness that you've been unconsciously occupying. That difficult relationship that brings you pain, it's mirroring your deepest concepts of love, worth, and deserving. That health challenge that frightens you, it's expressing your beliefs about your body, your vitality, your right to be whole and strong. But here's where it gets exciting. And this is the part that will change everything for you. The part that will make you realize you've been living with godlike power all along, without knowing it. If your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, then by changing your inner world, you can transform everything. And I mean everything. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your entire experience of life itself. When you truly understand this, not just intellectually with your reasoning mind, but experientially with every fiber of your being, you'll never look at a problem the same way again. Instead of asking, how can I solve this? You'll ask, what state of consciousness am I occupying that's creating this experience? Instead of trying to change the outer world, you'll focus on changing your inner world, knowing that the outer must conform. This brings me to the most liberating statement you'll ever hear. Words that will set you free from every burden you've ever carried. God will solve it. Now, before you think I'm advocating some form of spiritual passivity, some kind of wishful thinking that expects miracles to fall from the sky, let me clarify what I mean. When I say God will solve it, I'm not referring to some external deity sitting on a cloud, some cosmic figure who may or may not decide to help you. I'm referring to the God within you, the infinite intelligence that is your very essence, the creative power that is your true nature. Stay with me because this next part will literally rewire how you think about problems forever. And I promise you, by the time I finish explaining this, you'll never feel powerless again. When you say God will solve it, you're not abdicating responsibility or washing your hands of your challenges. You're making the most powerful declaration possible. You're aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. You're stepping out of the limited perspective of the problem and into the expanded consciousness of the solution. Think about this profound truth. A seed doesn't worry about becoming a mighty oak tree. It doesn't lie awake at night wondering if it has what it takes to grow into something magnificent. It contains within itself the complete pattern of its full expression. The entire oak tree, roots, trunk, branches, leaves, exists as pure potential within that tiny seed. Similarly, your consciousness contains within it the solution to every problem you could ever face. Every challenge that appears in your life already carries within it the seed of its own resolution. But you must learn to plant yourself in the fertile soil of faith rather than the barren ground of worry. Here's the practical application that will transform your life immediately. And I want you to try this even as you listen to these words. Instead of focusing on your problem, instead of rehearsing it in your mind, discussing it with others, analyzing it from every angle, focus on the feeling of it already being solved. How would you feel right now if your financial struggles were completely over? How would you move through the world if your relationship was perfectly harmonious? What would your mental state be if your health was vibrant and strong? This feeling, this state of consciousness, where your problem is already solved, is the key to allowing God to solve your problem. You see, when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live from the end result rather than from the present problem, you are aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. But wait, this gets even more remarkable, and what I'm about to tell you will completely shatter your concept of time and possibility. In the realm of pure consciousness, where all creation takes place, there is no time. Past, present, and future are illusions of the physical world. In consciousness, everything exists in the eternal now. This means your desire is fulfilled the moment you assume the feeling of its fulfillment with complete conviction. The time it takes to appear in your physical reality depends only on your faith and your persistence in this assumed state. So when I tell you that God will solve your problem, I'm not speaking of some future event. Your problem is already solved, right now, in this very moment. The only question is, are you willing to accept this truth? Think about what this means. Every solution you've ever sought, every answer you've ever needed, every miracle you've ever prayed for, they all exist right now in the realm of infinite possibility. Your job is not to create them. Your job is to select them by assuming the state of consciousness in which they are already yours. Here's something that will surprise you and challenge everything you've been taught about achievement and success. The harder you try to solve your problems, the more you're actually affirming their existence. This is what I call the law of reversed effort. When you struggle and strain to make something happen, when you push and force and manipulate circumstances, you're operating from the consciousness of lack, the very consciousness that created the problem in the first place. You're saying to the universe, I don't have this and I need to make it happen. But the universe only knows how to say yes to your state of consciousness. Instead of trying harder, try less. Instead of doing more, be more. Rest in the knowing that the infinite intelligence within you, the same intelligence that grows your hair without your conscious effort, that beats your heart while you sleep, that orchestrates the intricate dance of billions of cells in your body, is fully capable of solving whatever you're facing. This isn't about being passive or inactive. It's about being aligned. When you're truly aligned with the consciousness of the solution, inspired action flows naturally. You won't feel like you're struggling upstream against the current of life. Instead, you'll find yourself carried by a river of synchronicity toward your desired outcome. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, having the right ideas, receiving the right opportunities. This isn't coincidence. This is consciousness in action. This is God, which you are, orchestrating your reality with infinite intelligence and perfect timing. Let me share with you one of the most powerful techniques I know for allowing God to solve your problems. A practice that has transformed countless lives and will transform yours, if you use it faithfully. Revision. Each night before you sleep, as you're lying in bed preparing to enter the state of consciousness, where all creation begins, review the events of your day. But here's the crucial part. Don't review them as they appeared to your physical senses. Revise them to align with the state of your problems being solved. Had a challenging conversation with your boss? Revise it to have gone perfectly, with your boss expressing confidence in your abilities. Received discouraging news about your finances? Revise it to be encouraging news about new opportunities. Felt anxious about your relationship? Revise yourself as feeling completely loved and secure. This technique works because your memories are not fixed recordings stored somewhere in your brain like files on a computer. They're fluid, living things that are constantly being reconstructed each time you remember them. By consciously revising your memories, You're literally reshaping your past. And as you change your past in imagination, you change your future in reality. But the power of revision goes even deeper than this. When you revise your day to align with your problems being solved, you're not just changing your memories, you're changing your identity. You're becoming the person who naturally attracts solutions rather than problems. The person who moves through life with confidence and grace rather than fear and struggle. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this just fantasy? Isn't this self-deception? And to this I say, what you call reality is already a form of imagination. The difference is that most people are unconsciously imagining what they don't want, while I'm teaching you to consciously imagine what you do want. Every night, as you practice revision, you're planting seeds in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. These seeds must grow into your outer experience, because that's the law of consciousness. What you vividly imagine and feel to be true becomes true in your experience. When you assume the state of your problem being solved, truly assume it with feeling and conviction, a series of events is automatically set in motion to bring about the manifestation of your desire. I call this the bridge of incidents. You don't need to know how God will solve your problem. You don't need to figure out the steps, manipulate the circumstances, or force the outcome. Your job is simply to maintain your assumption and trust the bridge. Each event, each encounter, each seeming coincidence is part of this bridge leading you to the complete manifestation of your solved problem. Here's something that will amaze you and fill you with wonder at the intelligence of the universe. Once you truly embody the consciousness of your problem being solved, the entire universe begins to conspire in your favor. People you've never met will play their perfect parts in your unfolding solution. Circumstances will align in ways that seem miraculous but are actually the natural result of your changed consciousness. Opportunities will present themselves at precisely the right moment. Resources will appear from unexpected sources. Doors will open that you didn't even know existed. And all of this will happen not because you forced it, but because you aligned yourself with it through your consciousness. This is what I mean when I say that God will solve it. The infinite intelligence that created and maintains the universe is not separate from you. It is you. And this intelligence knows exactly how to bring about the solution to your problem in the most perfect, harmonious way possible. But here's something crucial that I must emphasize. This is not about sitting back and waiting for miracles to happen while you do nothing. When you're truly aligned with the consciousness of the solution, you'll be inspired to take what I call right action. This action won't feel like struggle or effort. It won't be driven by fear or desperation. Instead, it will feel natural, even inevitable. You'll find yourself making phone calls that lead to breakthrough conversations. You'll be inspired to visit places where you meet exactly the right person. You'll have ideas that seem to come from nowhere but lead to perfect solutions. The difference between right action and wrong action is the consciousness from which it springs. Wrong action comes from the consciousness of the problem. It's driven by fear, worry, and the need to force an outcome. Right action comes from the consciousness of the solution. It's inspired, effortless, and aligned with the natural flow of your good. Pay attention to your inner conversations, the thoughts you think and the words you speak to yourself throughout the day. These conversations are shaping your reality more powerfully than any action you could take in the outer world. Most people have no idea how much power their inner dialogue holds. They spend their days thinking and talking about their problems, rehearsing their fears, anticipating negative outcomes, and then they wonder why their lives are filled with the very things they don't want. If you're constantly thinking and talking about your problems, you're reinforcing their existence in your experience. You're giving them life through your attention, feeding them with your emotional energy, strengthening their hold on your reality. Instead, have inner conversations that align with your problems being solved. Speak to yourself as if the solution is already in place. Have imaginary conversations with others where you discuss the wonderful resolution of your situation. Thank people for their help in bringing about your good fortune, even if this conversation exists only in your imagination. These inner conversations are not just fantasies. They're powerful creative forces that are literally reshaping the substance of your reality. Remember, your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. When you have these conversations with feeling and conviction, your subconscious accepts them as real and begins to work to make them real in your outer experience. Let me tell you about a state of consciousness that is crucial to allowing God to solve your problems. What I call the Sabbath state. After you've done your imaginative work, after you've assumed the feeling of your problem being solved, after you've revised your day and had your inner conversations, enter into complete rest. The Sabbath state is a state of total release from all effort, a state of knowing that your work is done. In this state, you no longer feel the need to make the solution happen because you know it already is happening. You rest in the certainty of the outcome, allowing God to work through the natural unfolding of events. This rest is not the rest of exhaustion or defeat. It's the rest of completion, the peace that comes from knowing that everything is handled. It's like planting a seed and then leaving it alone to grow, trusting that the intelligence within the seed knows exactly what to do. Many people struggle with this state because they've been conditioned to believe that they must be constantly doing something to create change. But the truth is that the most important work happens in consciousness, and once that work is complete, the outer manifestation is inevitable. The Sabbath state is not about being lazy or inactive. It's about operating from the consciousness of completion rather than the consciousness of need. When you're truly in this state, any action you take flows from inspiration rather than desperation, from fullness rather than emptiness. The next one is perhaps the most important concept I can share with you, and I want you to really let this sink into your consciousness. Live from the end. Don't live hoping your problem will be solved someday in the future. Live as if it's already solved right now, in this very moment. When you truly do this, when you embody the consciousness of the solution rather than the problem, time collapses. The future you desire becomes your present reality. You're not waiting for change to happen. You're experiencing it now. Think about what it would mean to live from the end of your financial struggles. You wouldn't check your bank balance with anxiety. You'd check it with the quiet confidence of someone who always has enough. You wouldn't worry about bills. You'd pay them knowing that the money flows to you as easily as breath flows through your lungs. Think about what it would mean to live from the end of your relationship problems. You wouldn't wonder if you're loved. You'd know it with unshakable certainty. You wouldn't try to control or manipulate your partner. You'd rest in the security of perfect love. This is not pretense or self-deception. This is alignment with your true nature and your ultimate good. When you live from the end, you're not denying your current circumstances. You're choosing to identify with your desired reality rather than your present appearance. Cultivate gratitude, not just for what you can see and touch, but for the unseen solution that is even now unfolding in your life. Give thanks for the wisdom that guides you, the love that surrounds you, and the power that resides within you. This gratitude is not just a nice feeling. It's a powerful creative force that aligns you with the frequency of your desires fulfilled. When you're truly grateful for your problems being solved, even before you see evidence, you're opening a doorway for miracles to enter your experience. Gratitude puts you in a state of receptivity. It says to the universe, I am ready to receive my good. It acknowledges that your good is already on its way, already in motion, already seeking expression through you. Practice this kind of gratitude throughout your day. Thank God for the solution that is unfolding. Thank the people who will play their parts in your good fortune. Thank the circumstances that are aligning for your benefit. Do this even when, especially when, you can't see any evidence in the outer world. Never forget this fundamental truth. You are not separate from God. You are an individualized expression of the infinite creative power. The same intelligence that set the stars in their courses flows through your consciousness. The same love that holds galaxies together beats in your heart. The same creative force that imagined the universe into existence lives and moves and has its being as you. When you remember this truth, really remember it, not just as a nice idea, but as a living reality, every problem becomes an opportunity to witness the divine power in action. Every challenge becomes a chance to exercise your godlike nature. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone to greater expression of your infinite potential. Here's the ultimate secret, the one truth that changes everything. You don't need to become someone new to solve your problems. You need to remember who you've always been. You need to stop pretending to be limited and start expressing your unlimited nature. You are not your circumstances. You are not your challenges. You are not your past failures or future fears. You are the awareness in which all these experiences appear and disappear like clouds in the vastness of the sky. Trusting that God will solve your problem is not a one-time event. It's a continuous choice, a moment-by-moment decision to align with your true nature rather than your temporary appearance. You must persist in this state of faith even when the outer world shows no sign of change, even when others doubt you, even when your own mind tries to convince you it's not working. This persistence is what separates those who successfully transform their lives from those who give up too soon. Think of it like moving to a new home. You don't wake up each morning wondering where you are, looking around confused and uncertain. You naturally assume your new surroundings because you know where you live. This is how you must be with your faith, that God will solve your problem. It should become your new normal, your new home state. Even when the old familiar thoughts of worry try to move back in, you gently but firmly remind them that they no longer live here. But what if you falter? What if you find yourself slipping back into worry and doubt? Do not despair. Do not judge yourself harshly. Simply acknowledge what has happened and return to your state of faith and surrender. Remember, you are breaking lifelong habits of thought and feeling. It takes practice, patience, and persistence. As you practice these principles, as you truly embody the consciousness that God will solve it, you'll notice something remarkable happening. Your entire perception of life shifts. What once seemed like insurmountable obstacles now appear as stepping stones to greater expression. What once felt like punishment now feels like preparation. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of experiences. Not as someone hoping for change, but as someone allowing transformation. Not as someone begging God for help, but as someone remembering that you are the very God you've been praying to. And here's the most beautiful part of this entire journey, the revelation that brings tears of joy to those who truly understand it. When you fully awaken to your true nature, when you completely embody the consciousness that God will solve it, you realize something profound and liberating. There never was a problem to begin with. There was only God, which you are, pretending to have problems so that God could experience the infinite joy of remembering its unlimited power to solve them. Every challenge you faced has been a game of cosmic hide and seek, with the infinite playing at being finite, the unlimited pretending to be limited, the eternal acting as if it were temporary. And now the game is ending. Now you're remembering who you really are. So I ask you now, as we near the end of our time together, are you ready to stop living as a limited human being and start expressing as the infinite creative power you truly are? Are you willing to release your attachment to problems and embrace your identity as the solution to everything you've ever sought? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. The power is within you. It has always been within you. The time is now. It has always been now. Remember this as you go forward. You are not your circumstances. You are not your challenges. You are not even your thoughts and emotions. You are the awareness in which all these experiences arise and pass away. You are the infinite creative power of the universe, temporarily wearing the mask of humanity, playing the game of limitation, so you can experience the ecstasy of remembering your unlimited nature. Tonight, as you go to sleep, carry this truth with you like a precious treasure. God will solve it. Not because you hope so, not because you wish it to be true, but because you are God individualized. And it is impossible, utterly impossible, for you to have a problem that you cannot solve. Rest in this knowing. Live from this truth. Breathe this reality into every cell of your being. And watch with wonder and gratitude as your entire world transforms to match the magnificent being you've always been, but temporarily forgot. The secret that changes everything is this. You are everything. You are the problem, you are the solution, and you are the creative power that bridges them both. You are the dreamer and the dream, the seeker and the sought, the question and the answer. Welcome home to your true self. Welcome home to your divine nature. Welcome home to a life where God solves everything, because God is who you are, who you've always been, and who you'll always be. The world sold you a story of struggle. They painted pictures of endless hustle, sleepless nights, and sacrificial climbs up mountains of man-made success. They whispered in your ear, work harder, do more, give up everything for the dream of someday having enough. But heaven spoke a radically different language. While the world screamed hustle, the Spirit whispered, stand still and speak the word, and I will deliver it unto thee. You were not born to be a slave to the visible realm. You were not designed to bow before bank statements, to tremble at invoices, or to measure your worth by the numbers on a screen. You were born to command the invisible forces that govern all substance, all supply, all divine wealth. Here's the revelation that will shatter your reality. You may think you're listening to learn how to become a multi-millionaire, but let me tell you the truth that will set you free. You are already a multi-millionaire in the realm of spirit, right now, not someday when you work hard enough, not if you find the right opportunity, not when the stars align or the economy improves, but right now. You do not become what you say. You reveal what already is by speaking it into form. Every dollar you'll ever need, every contract that will transform your life, every opportunity that will elevate your existence, every divine appointment that will change your story. All of it already exists in the invisible warehouse of the Word. You don't chase it. You don't earn it. You don't deserve it through struggle. You declare it, and it comes to you under grace in perfect ways. When Moses stood trembling before the burning bush, overwhelmed by his assignment and his inadequacy, God didn't give him a riddle wrapped in mystery. He gave him the ultimate password to unlock every treasure in heaven and earth. I am that I am. This wasn't poetry. This wasn't a philosophical meditation. This was a legal announcement in the court of divine law. It was the password that parts seas, the key that unlocks treasuries, the name that commands all substance to obey. When you say I am, you are not simply making an affirmation. You are not engaging in positive thinking or hopeful wishing. You are stepping into your eternal identity, not what the world calls you, not what your circumstances echo back to you, not what your bank account reflects, but what Spirit already knows to be eternally, unchangeably true. You are rich now, not when you get the promotion, close the deal, or find your purpose. You are provided for now, not when you figure out the plan, work up the courage. When conditions improve, you are supplied now, not when you prove yourself worthy, when you sacrifice enough, when you hustle harder. But here's the bridge you must cross. Your words must catch up with heaven. I was once exactly where you are, waiting, hoping, afraid to declare the good, lest I be disappointed. I thought faith meant silently believing while externally struggling. I thought wealth came from action, from grinding, from proving myself to an indifferent universe. But I learned the cosmic truth. Faith means boldly declaring. Wealth comes from authority, not activity. So I was waiting on God, but God was waiting on my word. And the moment I spoke, not from fear, not from desperation, not from trying to manipulate outcomes, but from the deep knowing of who I am in spirit, everything changed. Money showed up from sources I never expected. People offered checks without being asked. Old debts vanished like morning mist. New doors swung open with supernatural ease. Why? Because I finally said the one thing that changes everything. I am a multi-millionaire by divine right, and my supply is here now. Most people hand the microphone of their reality to the world the moment they open their eyes. They reach for their phones, check their bank accounts, scan the news, and let external circumstances set the tone for their entire day. They become thermometers, reflecting whatever temperature life serves them. But the wealthy in spirit understand a sacred principle. The first word of your day is the seed of everything that unfolds. You must learn to speak before breakfast, to declare before you dress, to command before you calculate. You must seize the throne of your reality before the world has a chance to dictate its limited agenda. Here's your new morning protocol, the ritual that transforms peasants into princes. Before your feet touch the floor, before you check a single notification, before you let the world whisper its fears into your consciousness, you rise up in the authority of your divine nature and declare, this is a day of divine provision orchestrated by heaven itself. I walk into increase with every step. Supply meets me at every turn. God goes before me and prepares channels I haven't even seen yet. Every conversation is divinely guided. Every appointment is perfectly timed. Every opportunity is heaven sent. I am met with favor, increase, and overflow before the sun sets. This isn't just morning motivation. This is metaphysical mastery. This is how you frame your atmosphere, how you set the spiritual temperature of your environment, how you ensure that your day serves your vision instead of your circumstances controlling your experience. The difference between the wealthy and the weary is simple. The wealthy decree from their throne before they survey the battlefield. The weary check the battle report before they decide whether to speak. But I tell you the truth, nothing on the battlefield matters when your word has already won the war. Let me share with you the exact sentence that transformed my financial reality and elevated me from struggling to supernatural supply. This isn't theory. This is my lived testimony. The proof that the word works when worked consistently. There came a moment when I didn't have much money, but I had something far more powerful, a sentence. And I chose to speak that sentence, not once, not occasionally, not when I felt inspired or remembered, but every single day for 90 consecutive days, as though my very breath depended on it. The sentence that changed everything is this: God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. I didn't shout it. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't perform it for an audience. I spoke it in rhythm, in stillness, in law, morning after morning, moment after moment, with the quiet confidence of one who knows that the word cannot return void. I spoke it not as a ritual, but as a return to divine order, not as a performance, but as a pronouncement, not to convince God of anything, but to align myself with what God had already ordained, that supply is never delayed, that money is never random, that the source is never blocked, and the channels are never truly closed, except by the spoken doubts of humanity itself. I chose for 90 days, not to ask how it would happen, not to demand when it would manifest, not to argue with appearances, not to check constantly for proof, not to let doubt dilute my decree. Instead, I simply spoke the word, and something sacred began to unfold. My mind stopped racing with worry. My emotions settled into peace. The vibration of lack that had haunted my atmosphere, like a persistent fog, began to lift like mist in the morning sun. The word began to replace the worry, and with it came what skeptics call coincidences, but I call substance answering spirit. The manifestations began. An unexpected refund appeared from an account I had completely forgotten. A client I hadn't spoken to in years wrote a substantial check without any request from me. Opportunities emerged through channels I never could have designed or foreseen. Bills that had loomed like giants fell without battle or struggle. Doors opened that had been sealed for years. I realized with awe and quiet joy that nothing was coming to me. It had always been circling, waiting for the atmosphere of permission that only the spoken word can create. The money was never held back by the economy, by timing, by my qualifications, or by my efforts. It was held back only by contradiction in my speech. Once the contradiction ceased, once the word became law through repetition and reverence and rhythm, the wealth obeyed like a well-trained servant. You may ask, was it difficult? No, it was holy. Was it fast? It was faithful. Did it always feel like it was working? No, but the law doesn't ask how you feel. The law asks what you say. But here's where most people sabotage their own breakthrough. They speak their wealth into existence with morning declarations, then assassinate it with afternoon fears. There comes a moment for every soul who dares to walk by faith instead of sight. A moment when the winds howl, when appearances scream contradiction, when bills pile up like accusations, when phones remain silent like judges, when doors look locked like prisons, when logic says turn back and emotion says give up, and the world says be reasonable. Even your own mind begins to whisper the poison of doubt. What if it's not working? What if you're delusional? What if you're wasting your time? In that moment, many who once spoke with boldness begin to retract, to tremble, to reverse their decrees with the betrayal of hesitation and self-doubt. But understand this with crystal clarity. Fear is not your friend. It's not your wisdom. It's not your intuition protecting you from disappointment. Fear is a reversal spell, a silent assassin, a false prophet sent specifically to sabotage your supply. Fear is a vacuum, and your wealth cannot dwell where it is not welcome. The greatest contradiction to your spoken word is not what others say about your dreams, what the economy does to your industry, what your past holds as evidence against you. The greatest contradiction is what you entertain after the word has been spoken. Every doubt allowed after your decree becomes a leak in the pipe, a crack in the temple wall, a weakening of the structure that should have been indestructible. So your new protocol for dealing with fear is this. When fear whispers, what if it doesn't come? You roar back. It already has in spirit, and the substance is following the blueprint I've spoken. When fear hisses, you're behind schedule. You declare, I am in divine alignment, and my supply runs ahead of me, preparing the way. When fear dares to suggest there's not enough to go around, you announce my source is infinite, and I live in overflow that blesses everyone I touch. When fear tries to convince you, you don't deserve this, you proclaim, I am an heir of the king, and wealth is my birthright. You don't negotiate with thieves. You don't debate with devourers. You don't reason with robbers. You rebuke them. You evict them. You cast them out like the trespassers they are. Your daily fear-crushing declaration. I cast the burden of fear upon the Christ within, and I go free. I no longer fear not having enough, for I walk with the God who is more than enough. I no longer fear delay, for divine timing is perfect, and never late. I no longer fear appearances, for I know the law is working beneath the surface of every circumstance. There is a sacred shift that occurs in the soul when someone finally stops speaking from the tremble of their feelings and begins speaking from the throne of law, when they no longer wait for their emotions to be perfect before proclaiming what is already perfect in spirit. The law does not respond to emotion. It responds to instruction. The word of power is not born in the realm of sentiment. It is born in the realm of certainty, the realm where God himself said, let there be light, not because he felt light, not because the world looked bright, but because he was light and spoke from his own nature rather than from the condition of the void. If you are made in the image and likeness of God, and then you are called to speak not what you feel, but what you know to be eternally true, even when your senses betray you, even when bank statements lie, even when circumstances scream contradiction. Emotion is weather, but law is the sky beneath it. Emotion is a passing wave, but law is the ocean floor. Emotion is a drifting cloud, but law is the gravity that holds the earth in place. If you try to build your wealth, your declarations, your supply, and your spiritual identity on the shaky scaffolding of emotion, you will be blown about by every gust of circumstance, every late payment, every rejected proposal, every slow week, every unsupportive voice, every disappointing phone call. But if you anchor yourself in law, if you plant your feet in the immovable word that says thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, then it will not matter how you feel when you say it, because divine law does not require your mood, it requires your mouth. The most powerful words I ever spoke were not the ones I felt deeply in my bones. They were the ones I spoke despite how I felt. The ones I spoke when I felt afraid, but chose faith. When I felt empty, but chose overflow. When I felt forgotten, but chose divine remembrance. When I felt late, but chose perfect timing. Those words, those cold, firm, unshaken words, worked miracles because they were rooted in law, not feeling. They carried the authority of eternal truth, rather than the instability of temporary emotion. When you speak from law, you speak as one who commands the invisible. You speak as the general, not the soldier. You speak as the architect, not the bricklayer. You speak as the heir, not the orphan. You say, My supply is constant because my source is eternal, even when the invoice arrives. You say my wealth increases daily because I am one with divine substance, even when your wallet feels thin. You say, money flows to me richly, rapidly, and repeatedly, even when the world tries to convince you to fear, because your word is not an echo of what is. It is a decree of what shall be. Every morning, you stand at a crossroads of identity. You can either accept the labels the world has assigned you based on your circumstances, or you can claim the title heaven has already bestowed upon you based on your spiritual DNA. The first divine habit of all who walk in visible wealth is the relentless rhythmic identification with what is already true in spirit, even when it is not yet seen in form. This is not pretending. This is not performance. This is not delusion. This is divine law. When you say, I am rich, you are not boasting about what your bank account reflects. You are coming into agreement with what heaven already ordained, what divine substance already declared from the foundations of the world. When God revealed himself to Moses in the burning bush and said, I am that I am, he was not offering a poetic riddle. He was revealing the core name of all reality, the generative principle that undergirds every act of creation. When you say, I am, you are not simply affirming something. You are activating a blueprint. You are connecting your consciousness to the generator of all form. You are announcing to seen and unseen realms alike that you no longer speak from your senses, but from your source. And if your source is divine, then your substance must follow. For the river cannot produce what the spring does not contain, and the spring of God contains only abundance, only overflow, only perfection, only opulence, only divine order. Therefore, you must reject all lesser labels, cast down all false titles, break agreement with every identity that echoes struggle, refuse all names that suggest delay or insufficiency, and you must daily, audibly, joyfully declare from your soul, I am divine wealth. I am the visible expression of invisible supply. I am one with the treasury of heaven. I am the circulation point of unlimited riches. I am abundance in human form. I am the expression of divine increase. Don't say it once as if checking a box. Say it again and again until it melts every resistance, until it drowns out the old voices of lack and fear, until it becomes more natural to say, I am wealthy than to say, I'm trying, until your inner speech becomes a river of truth, so wide and so strong that doubt has no place to root. You must understand that your word is not merely language. It is legislation. Not merely sound, it is spiritual statute. Not merely affirmation, it is divine commandment. If you do not grasp this fundamental truth, you will continue to speak as if your words are weak opinions instead of royal decrees that shape the corridors of the unseen, vibrate through the ethers of substance, and summon into form the riches of divine supply itself. The word is not symbolic. It is structural. It is not a metaphor for action. It is the generator of manifestation. You have been taught by the world to wait for provision before you speak as one who has. But heaven demands the reverse. You must speak as one who has in order to see the provision. What is visible bows to what is vocal. The word, when spoken in spiritual alignment, does not ask permission. It gives instruction. It does not describe chaos. It establishes cosmos. It does not repeat problems. It overrides them with spiritual architecture. This is why Isaiah 55:11 was given not as poetry but as physics, as spiritual mechanics. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. If God has said this about his word, and if you are made in his image, then your word, when spoken from union with the Christ within, carries the same unfailing nature. The word that returns void is not the word of law, but the word of fear, complaint, sarcasm, idle speech, emotional reaction. Such words are like arrows fired at fog. They create more confusion and reinforce the illusion of lack. But the word that returns full is the word issued like a royal edict, a legal utterance from the throne room of consciousness, spoken not from panic, but from posture, not from emotion, but from dominion. That word carries with it an invisible instruction to the very fabric of reality, to align, to open, to yield, to create, to manifest. The world responds not to hoping, not to trying, not to working yourself to exhaustion. It responds to law, and law is released by the spoken word. Until it is spoken, it remains potential. Once it is spoken with authority, it becomes mandate. You are not here to earn wealth. You are here to decree it. You are not here to chase money. You are here to command it. You are not here to beg for provision. You are here to speak it into existence. Your inheritance is not struggle. Your inheritance is wealth. Your nature is not lack. Your nature is abundance. Your speech is not powerless. Your speech is the golden key. The treasury of heaven awaits your voice. The floodgates of supply listen for your command. The channels of prosperity respond to your decree. Open your mouth, speak your wealth, command your supply, and watch as the invisible becomes visible, as the spiritual becomes substantial, as the word becomes wealth in your hands. The world is about to witness your rise, not because you worked harder, but because you spoke with authority. Not because you begged louder, but because you commanded from your throne. Not because you hoped stronger, but because you decreed from law. Your mouth is the seed of your dominion. Your word is your wealth. Your voice is your victory. Speak it into existence, now and forever. And so it is.
Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I'm going to teach you something that will completely transform how you approach manifestation. Most people treat their desires like destinations on a map. They see themselves here, and their wish fulfilled over there, and they spend all their energy trying to close that gap. But I'm going to show you tonight that there is no gap to close. There is no distance to travel. There is no journey to make. There is only an assumption to occupy. And once you occupy it, you must walk in it. Not visit it for 20 minutes during meditation. Not think about it occasionally throughout your day. Walk in it, live in it, move through your entire life from within that assumption. This continuous occupation of your desired state is what separates those who manifest from those who struggle. They walk in the assumption. They don't just visit it. When you walk somewhere, you don't stand still and think about walking. You don't visualize your legs moving. You don't affirm, I am walking. You just walk. You inhabit the action completely. It's natural, automatic, something you do without conscious effort or constant self-monitoring. You don't wake up each morning convincing yourself you can walk. You simply walk when you need to walk, and you don't question it. This is how you must relate to your assumption. When I say walk in the assumption, I mean inhabit it so completely, so naturally, so automatically, that you stop thinking about whether you're doing it right. You're not trying to walk in it. You're not practicing walking in it. You're just walking in it, naturally, effortlessly, as your new normal. Here's where most people fail. They create an assumption, let's say wealth. They might even feel wealthy during meditation. But then they finish their practice and immediately return to walking in poverty consciousness. They check their bank account with anxiety. They make decisions from scarcity. They worry about bills. They think thoughts of lack all day long. And then at night they meditate on wealth for 20 minutes. They're visiting the assumption of wealth. But they're walking in the assumption of poverty. And it's the assumption you walk in, the one you inhabit all day long. The one that shapes your thoughts, feelings, decisions, and actions, that creates your reality, not the one you visit during spiritual practice. You can't walk in poverty for 23 hours and walk in wealth for 1 hour and expect to manifest wealth, because consciousness creates reality based on where you actually live, not where you occasionally visit. You must walk in your desired assumption all day, every day, until it becomes your natural state. Let me give you specific examples. If you're walking in the assumption of wealth, when you wake up, your first thoughts aren't about money problems. You think from abundance. When you check your bank account, you don't do it with anxiety. You look calmly, knowing the number is temporary. When you make purchases, you decide from a mentality of having plenty, even if the account doesn't reflect it yet. When bills arrive, you handle them practically while maintaining that money flows to you easily. When opportunities appear, you accept them naturally, expecting good things. You walk through your entire day thinking, feeling, deciding, and acting from the consciousness of wealth. If you're walking in the assumption of being loved, you don't wake up feeling lonely. You feel cherished from the moment you open your eyes. You don't analyze interactions, looking for proof. You move through the world knowing you're valued. You don't tolerate disrespect. You naturally expect to be treated well. You don't seek validation. You're already validated by the love you know you have. You walk through your day from the consciousness of being deeply, completely loved. Do you see the difference between this and just thinking about being loved for a few minutes before bed? Walking in the assumption means it becomes your operating system, not an app you open occasionally. Here's what most people don't understand. Walking in the assumption is a decision, not a feeling you wait for. You don't wait until you feel wealthy to walk in the assumption of wealth. You decide to walk in it, and the feeling follows. The assumption comes first. The feeling comes second. The manifestation comes third. Most people reverse this. They think, when I feel wealthy, I'll walk in wealth consciousness. But you'll never feel it if you're not walking in it. Feelings follow assumptions, not the other way around. So you make a decision, today I walk in the assumption of wealth. Regardless of what my bank account shows, regardless of how I currently feel, regardless of what circumstances suggest, I walk in wealth. And then you do it. You make every thought, every feeling, every decision, every action come from that place. You walk in the assumption by choosing it, moment by moment, until it becomes automatic. At first, walking in a new assumption will feel unnatural. You'll wobble, you'll forget, you'll slip back, you'll wake up worrying about money. Then remember, wait, I'm walking in wealth now. You'll catch yourself making a decision from scarcity. Then correct. No, that's not where I walk anymore. This is normal. This is how you learn to walk in a new assumption. At first, it requires conscious effort. You have to remind yourself constantly. You have to correct yourself frequently. But if you persist, if you keep choosing the assumption, keep redirecting to it, keep walking in it despite the wobbles, it becomes easier, more natural, more automatic. Eventually you stop thinking about it. You just naturally think, feel, and act from that assumption because you've walked in it so consistently that it's become who you are. So how to walk throughout your day? Morning. The moment you wake up, before checking the news or thinking about problems, occupy your assumption. If you're assuming wealth, feel financially secure. Let that be your first conscious experience of the day. Spend the first few minutes walking in your assumption before the world can pull you into your old state. Throughout the day, do this. Every moment is a choice. Every thought is an opportunity to walk in your desired state. Set reminders if needed. Every hour, am I walking in my assumption right now, or have I slipped back? When you notice you've slipped, don't judge yourself. Just return. Choose again. Walk in the assumption again. In the evening. Before bed, review your day, not based on external events, but on how well you maintained your assumption. Did you walk in wealth today or in poverty? Then, as you drift to sleep, return to your assumption one more time. Feel it. Let it be the last state you occupy before sleep. You're training yourself to walk in this assumption so consistently that it becomes your permanent state. When you truly walk in an assumption, your thoughts automatically align with it. Your feelings naturally match it. Your decisions reflect it. Your actions express it. When you walk in an assumption, your entire being organizes itself around that assumption. And when your entire being reflects your assumption, the three-dimensional world must reorganize itself to match. The external world always shows you the assumption you're walking in. If you don't like what you see, don't try to change the external world directly. Change the assumption you're walking in. Start walking in wealth instead of poverty. Start walking in love instead of loneliness. Start walking in success instead of struggle. and watch as the external world shifts to reflect your new state. Here's the most challenging part. You must walk in your assumption even when the external evidence contradicts it. You start walking in wealth, and then the bill arrives. The bank account stays the same. Your mind screams, "See, this isn't working. Look at the evidence." But the external evidence is always showing you your past assumption, not your current one. What you see in the three-dimensional world is the materialization of the assumption you were walking in days, weeks, or months ago. During the interval between assumption and manifestation, you must continue walking in the new assumption despite the old evidence. You acknowledge reality practically, you pay the bill, you handle the situation. But internally, you remain walking in your new state. This is old information. This is the past made visible. But I'm walking in a new assumption now, and this new assumption is creating a new reality, and you keep walking in it. Understand this clearly. You don't wait for proof before you walk in the assumption. You walk in the assumption, and then the proof appears. Most people think, "Show me the money, and then I'll walk in wealth consciousness." But consciousness doesn't work that way. You must walk in wealth consciousness first. Occupy that state. Live from it. Make it your natural way of being. And then after you've walked in it consistently, faithfully, persistently, the external money must appear. The proof doesn't create the state. The state creates the proof. First the assumption, then the walking, then the manifestation. This is always the order. Always. Tonight, make a decision. Choose one assumption. Just one. The most important one to you right now. Wealth, love, health, success. Whatever matters most. And decide starting tomorrow morning, I walk in this assumption. Not I'll try. Not I'll walk in it when I feel like it. I walk in it, period. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, occupy that assumption. Feel it. Experience it. Throughout your day, keep choosing it. Keep returning to it. Keep walking in it. When you wobble, return. When you forget, remember. When you slip, choose again. Walk in that assumption for 7 days straight. Not perfectly, but persistently. And at the end of 7 days, notice what's different. Because when you truly walk in an assumption, when you make it your lived experience rather than your occasional practice, everything changes. If you walk in your assumption faithfully, consistently, persistently, if you make it your natural state rather than a state you visit, it must manifest. Consciousness creates reality. The assumption you walk in is your consciousness made visible. Walk in poverty, create poverty. Walk in wealth, create wealth. The choice is yours. But once you choose it, you must walk in it. Choose your assumption. Occupy it. Live from it. Think from it. Feel from it. Act from it. Walk in it. And watch as your entire world transforms to match the state you've chosen to inhabit. Thank you for being here tonight. Remember, you're not trying to get somewhere. You're already there in assumption. Now walk in it. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.